stage your Chief Executive, who's got some very moving words for you before we enter into a minute's silence. So put your hands together for Steve Cox, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. We very much appreciate you joining us here today, as well as for being the person who inspired and instigated the first walk many years ago. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our many volunteers helping to make today possible, as well as the CRY staff and our sponsors, Chubb, Unum, Hippies, ServiceMaster, and Eat Natural. It is incredible how this event has changed and how it's developed over the years to now be the most important event in our year to bring together families from all over the country. In 2007, when we held our first walk, CRY was in a very different position to where we are now. Back then, most people would not have been aware that young people could die suddenly of heart conditions. Now, when I talk to people about what I do, they are almost always aware of young sudden deaths. They've heard about the stories, they've heard about your experiences. Often they will even tell me that they've heard about CRY's screening program. On Monday of this week, we reached a major milestone as the World Health Organization acknowledged that when a young person dies of SADS, as well as all the other conditions, this should be recognized by official statistics and the policymakers. This change has only been possible because of the research that you are helping us to publish, showing what needs to be done and why it is so important. And this announcement of the WHO coincides with the 100th MP signing up to support a national strategy to prevent young sudden cardiac deaths. And at the same time, they're saying they're going to review the cardiac screening policy in the UK. At the time of our... At the time of our first walk 11 years ago, families would often not receive support after a tragedy. They'd often have to fight to get a referral to see a cardiologist. For most families, a referral to a specialist cardiologist is now the norm, and the majority of coroners are going that extra step and engaging with CRY to try and help families understand what caused the death, as well as to help understand the implications for other first-degree blood relatives, the rest of the family. 11 years ago, we had just 13 members of the My Heart Network, the young people living with life-threatening conditions. Now there are over 400 young people who are part of this network. In 2007, we had just finished funding our first research with the then relatively unknown Dr. Sanjay Sharma coming up through cardiology. 11 years later, Professor Sharma is the world expert in these conditions, and CRY have funded more than 30 doctors, many of whom are now consultant cardiologists working throughout the UK, taking CRY's messages and our values with them. In 2007, we proudly announced that 3,500 people had been screened by CRY. That was 3 times more than the previous year. In 2018, we will screen more than 30,000 people, 10 times this. We have now screened over 170,000 people. This is 2,000 people who have been identified with conditions who are receiving treatment because of the programs which CRY families are taking forward in their local communities. 500 of these had immediately life-threatening conditions. There are many young people who are alive today because of what you are doing. None of these changes would have happened without the incredible support we receive from CRY families, from your support from all over the country. Thank you for coming here today, for everything you do for CRY, and for making this such a special event. Thank you.